He did not die quickly. Under a pitiless sun on a barren plain, ropes bit into a man's limbs. 4 horses snorted and strained against their tethers. In the next instant, those horses would be set loose, each pulling in a different direction. They were about to tear a man apart, piece by bloody piece. This was no ordinary execution. It was a spectacle of vengeance, the brutal end reserved for a traitor of the highest order. That traitor's name was Bessus. Once, he had been a proud Persian noble, a governor, a satrap of Bactria, trusted by King Darius III himself. Now he was a prisoner, about to be ripped to shreds. How did it come to this? To understand the horror unfolding in that dusty clearing, we must rewind to the desperate final days of the Persian Empire in 330 BC. Summer 330 BC. The Persian Empire is crumbling. Across parched deserts and jagged mountains, the great King Darius III flees for his life. On his heels thunders Alexander the Great, the young Macedonian conqueror who has already smashed the Persian armies in battle. Darius is desperate to escape and rally new forces. By his side rides Bessus, the satrap of Bactria, ostensibly a loyal subject sworn to protect his king. But as the Macedonian army closes in, loyalty in Bessus's heart gives way to ambition and fear. He sees an opportunity. If Alexander captures Darius alive, the Persian resistance is finished and Bessus's power is lost. But if Darius were gone, Bessus might seize the throne himself and bargain with Alexander from a position of power. In the dead of night, deep in the deserts east of modern-day Iran, Bessus makes his move. Darius's royal convoy wakes to shouts and the clang of weapons. Bessus and a clique of fellow nobles surround the king's carriage. Darius, betrayed and bewildered, cannot even draw his sword before spears pierce his body. His own men stab him and leave him writhing in a wooden cart on the roadside. Moments later, Bessus and the conspirators gallop off into the darkness, abandoning their king to his fate. By dawn, Alexander's forces arrive to a ghastly scene. King Darius III, the ruler of millions, lies bleeding and dying, murdered by those he trusted. Alexander is shocked and furious. Legend says he cradled the dying Darius, offering him water and hearing his final words. The Macedonian orders Darius's corpse to be wrapped in the royal cloak for a dignified funeral, and as he gazes upon the fallen king's blood-soaked robes, Alexander swears the traitor will pay. Far from currying favor, Bessus's treachery has sealed his doom. Bessus does not wait for Alexander's wrath. He flees east as far as his horse will carry him. He proclaims himself the new king of kings, adopting the regal name Artaxerxes. In the far-flung provinces of Bactria and Sogdiana, he tries to muster an army, urging Persians to follow him as Darius's avenger. But few are convinced. To most, Bessus is not a savior. He's the usurper who spilled royal blood. Even his allies begin to doubt. Months pass as Alexander relentlessly pursues the pretender through the unforgiving plains of Central Asia. Bessus's forces melt away before the advancing Macedonians. One by one, local chieftains and Bessus's co-conspirators decide that siding with a regicide was a mistake. The hunter becomes the hunted. Finally, the inevitable happens. Bessus's own men turn on him. As Alexander's army draws near the Oxus River, Bessus's top officers, men he once counted as friends, seize him in his camp. In an instant, the proud satrap is beaten, bound in chains, and stripped of his fine robes. They deliver him, trembling and half-naked, to Alexander's generals. The betrayer has been betrayed. Bessus is forced to his knees before the Macedonian king he tried to evade. This once powerful noble now shakes like a condemned criminal, which is exactly what he is. Alexander regards him coldly. There will be no quick death, no honorable warrior's execution. This calls for an agonizing lesson, one that all of Persia will remember. They begin with public humiliation. At Alexander's command, Bessus is dragged out before a gathered crowd of soldiers. A burly Macedonian officer steps forward with a whip. Bessus's back is bared. The whip cracks down once, twice, again and again. Each lash draws a new line of blood across Bessus's skin. Witnesses say with each vicious stroke, an appointed man shouted out Bessus's crimes. This for betraying your king. Crack. This for spilling innocent blood. Crack. Bessus's screams echo over the camp, but his suffering has only begun. When the flogging is over, Bessus sags in his chains, gasping. Blood seeps from dozens of raw wounds on his back, but Alexander's sense of justice demands more. Following ancient Persian custom, the Macedonian orders a gruesome mutilation to mark the traitor. 2 soldiers step forward with daggers. Before Bessus can even comprehend what's happening, one soldier grips his hair and the other saws into the flesh of his face. With a sickening slice, they cut off Bessus's nose. Another slice. They hack off his ears. Bessus howls in agony as blood pours down his cheeks. This was the Persian punishment for great traitors, to be made hideous, forever shamed even beyond death. The watching crowd, Persians and Macedonians alike, gasp at the brutality. Even battle-hardened men shift uneasily. Bessus, once a handsome nobleman, is now a mutilated wretch, sobbing and disfigured. But that was just the beginning. Alexander is not finished. He wants the ultimate punishment for the ultimate betrayal. To complete this grim ritual, Alexander gives a final order. Take Bessus to the very spot where King Darius drew his last breath. The Persians among Alexander's retinue nod in approval. Justice will be served on the cursed ground where regicide occurred. Dragged in a wooden cart across miles of desert, battered and half dead, Bessus is brought to that lonely roadside in Parthia where his king was murdered. Waiting for him are Darius's brother, Oxyathres, and a contingent of Persian nobles loyal to the fallen king. It will be Persian hands that carry out the final act, as is fitting. As dusk settles and torches are lit, Bessus's broken form is prepared for execution. They lead out the horses. 4 war horses, strong and restless, are positioned at the edges of the clearing. Bessus, barely conscious, is dragged into the center. The executioners roughly bind his wrists and ankles with thick leather cords. Each cord is tied to a horse's harness. Now Bessus's fate literally hangs by the threads of these ropes. Perhaps at this moment, Bessus truly understands terror. He lies in the dust, breathing in shallow gulps, his face a mask of blood and dust, his body racked with pain. The night air is heavy and silent, all eyes on the pathetic figure spread-eagle between the horses. The Macedonian soldiers watch with grim anticipation. The Persian nobles watch with solemn, vengeful satisfaction. Oxyathres, Darius's brother, steps forward. With a hard gaze at the man who betrayed his kin, he raises his arm to give the signal. This is the end. And then comes the final blow. Oxyathres' arm drops, and a whip cracks sharply in the air. The horses bolt in 4 directions. For a fleeting heartbeat, Bessus's body holds together, and he shrieks a desperate, inhuman cry. Suddenly, a horrific series of wet snaps rents the night, the sound of a body being torn apart. One horse rears, ripping away an arm in a spray of blood. Another lunges the opposite way, yanking loose a leg. Flesh and sinew give way with a grisly rip. Bessus's cry is cut off instantly as his torso is wrenched apart. In seconds, the traitor is dismembered completely, limbs ripped from their sockets, red viscera strewn across the trampled dust. The horses gallop off into the darkness, each dragging a severed piece of what was once a living man. In the clearing, nothing remains of Bessus but bloody tatters and the iron smell of gore. The executioners step back, some splattered with the traitor's blood, their faces pale in the torchlight. A stunned hush falls. The brutal deed is done. In the aftermath, no one could speak for a long moment. Many of Alexander's Macedonian warriors, men who had witnessed countless killings on the battlefield, stood aghast at the ghastly sight. Some turned away, unable to look at the mangled remains. To them, this level of cruelty was almost unbelievable. Yet to the Persians present, this was justice fulfilled. Darius's family and followers had their vengeance. Oxyathres, seeing Bessus's pieces scattered as carrion, is said to have smiled grimly, satisfied that his brother's spirit was avenged. Alexander the Great had made his point unmistakably. Betrayal would be punished in the most harrowing way imaginable. The message spread like wildfire through the empire. In far-flung villages and great cities alike, people whispered of Bessus's fate with a shiver. The very name of Bessus became a warning to anyone contemplating treason. Thus dies the betrayer of kings. What effect did this nightmare execution have? For Alexander, it accomplished several things at once. He had eliminated a rival claimant to the Persian throne and shown his new Persian subjects that he revered their laws and their king, enough to avenge Darius with traditional Persian ruthlessness. Many Persians, seeing this, accepted Alexander more readily as their new ruler, for he honored their customs and punished the regicide. But there was a darker side. The cruelty of Bessus's end also instilled fear. It reminded everyone that Alexander could be merciless. Even some of his Macedonian companions wondered, quietly, if their brilliant young leader had a streak of savagery in him. Would such horrors stop at enemies alone? The tale of Bessus is a grim cautionary saga of betrayal and retribution in the ancient world. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. In times of empire and absolute power, justice and cruelty often walked hand in hand. Bessus betrayed his king in a bid for power, and in doing so, he provoked a retribution as barbaric as any crime. Perhaps he believed treachery would bring him glory or safety, but instead it led him to an end so horrific that it still haunts history books. His execution was not just punishment, it was a chilling message carved in blood and terror. It asks us, even now, was this truly justice, or simply revenge written in the most violent terms? In a world where kings ruled by the sword, maybe the line between the two was fatally thin. We are left to wonder if mercy has any place in a realm of ruthless power. Had you lived in those ancient days, under those unforgiving laws, would you have had the courage to stand against such cruelty, or would the specter of Bessus's fate have silenced any thought of rebellion or betrayal? Thank you for watching Dark History to the end. This story was a disturbing one, and I'm curious, how does it make you feel? Let us know your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. We'd love to hear your insight on this brutal chapter of history. If you found this tale gripping and horrifying, brace yourself. Our next dark historical story will test your resolve even more. In the next episode, we delve into the fate of a man whose entire intestines were pulled out while he still lived. It's a scene of horror you won't soon forget. So stay tuned for more tales from history's shadows. Until next time, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more dark and fascinating history. We'll see you in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching.